Yeah.
Maybe, Joseph, what are a couple of the big myths, rumors that get circulated, especially online, that we can kind of bust or clarify to help people, especially maybe thinking about a new Trump administration?
I think the number one thing, and I think about this in terms of what I hear from people who've been rejected, right, is everyone's like, I think this is why I got rejected. Everyone has a theory of why I got rejected. Now, no one ever has a theory of, I think this is why I got approved. Right? If you get approved, you're not asking questions about like, hey, like, why did that happen? Right? You're like, of course I did. I deserved it. Don't over project or over politicize. Although, like, I do think there is a level of politics to the visa process, particularly when it comes to countries whose governments are not friendly with the United States. Don't over politicize what happened in your particular visa interview, because oftentimes the concerns are like more basic, right? You know, what I see, example for Iranians, I've seen several Iranians here, salam, who are asking about why are F1 visas so hard to get, right? And what's really driving that right now is statistically rates of immigration, right? It's that, you know, if we know that if you issue, you know, if you add up a list and you say, this is how many Iranians came into the United States and this is how many Iranians left it during that time, and that list doesn't add up, it doesn't matter if they change status legally or not. You're going to be like, well, they all immigrate, right? And, you know, that is a bigger driver of Iranian refusal rates, right? Is immigration intent than big political questions. You know, I think most of the people who, for example, you know, by no fault of their own, were, say, conscripted into mandatory military service in the IRGC, which is a designated terrorist organization, you know, they're not going to the visa interview. They know that happened, right? And they're like, maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe I should go study in Germany until the political situation changes, right? Maybe I should look at Europe. Maybe I should go to Singapore. Who knows? The people who go in and they're like, it was some big political thing and it's because my dad worked for this company that works for the Iranian government. It's like, well, no, it's because you've already got 2 sisters who live in Los Angeles. You've got 3 cousins who live there. You only applied to schools in Iranian neighborhoods of Los Angeles, and you have no plan for going back to your country, right? At a basic, like at a basic level, like you still got to qualify. So politics is going to change things. You know, if you're an H-1B worker, you're going to expect more aggressive questioning from a presidential administration that's made it clear that they have misgivings or concerns about the H-1B program, right? So a lot of, what's your job? How much do you get paid? How much of an expert are you? What exactly are you doing in a given day? Who do you report to? You know, what are your duties? There's different areas of concern that emerge in different kind of political senses. By that, I mean areas of concern, right? To get an H-1B, you still need to meet the qualifications. You still need to have an approved petition, right? And so there are exceptions. Sometimes those exceptions are broad. You know, sometimes big political things happen to large numbers of normal people who are just trying to live their lives. But even within that, like, the basic structure doesn't change as much. I'd say that's the biggest false visa myth, is that you're going to see 100% change from, you know, Obama to Trump, from Biden to Trump. You know, and it's usually, to be blunt, concerns about restrictions. You know, no one, when Biden came in, I think everyone was like, oh, things are going to get more relaxed. In a lot of ways, they didn't. Right.
Yeah,
in a lot of
rejections.
Ways, a lot of ways, there's a lot of rejections, and for certain demographics and certain groups of people, things got quite bad for them under the Biden administration, and that was because of, you know, policies that were maybe not coming from the White House, but were still things that administration was pursuing, and that made it very difficult. You know, I know there's a lot of F1 students who are victims of fraud who, you know, had a rough time being refused under very harsh refusal codes for things that, you know, for basically getting scammed. You know, that happened under the Biden administration, right? You know, a lot of the what was it called? Like not Wirecutter, that's a product review site, but it was there were a couple bad companies that did some bad stuff and got shut down. And a lot of the people who'd done OPT with them wound up with fraud refusals, even though they were the victims of the scam. You know, that happened under the Biden administration, you know, so like, let's not assume that it's some presidents are dragons and some presidents are teddy bears. This is an immigration system that can still be difficult if you don't know what's going on about that. Yeah.
No, that's great. Did you know the approval rates for U.S. visas has gotten worse the past few years, and a previous rejection is really hard to overcome? Don't worry, because our friends at Argo Visa can help you ace your upcoming visa interview. Argo Visa Coaching pairs you with visa consular officers who have conducted tens of thousands of visa interviews abroad all over the world. They can guide you on how to overcome your obstacles and craft your story exactly how the visa officer needs to hear it so you can get granted approval in your visa interview. And if you've been rejected before, they can help you understand why and then help you craft a new and better strategy to be better prepared for your next attempt. Their Visa Checkup tool is an amazing free resource that you can use that helps you gauge how a visa officer is likely to respond to your current situation. Quickly answer a dozen questions and see what your score will be. If you want visa interview success, Argo Visa is the team that can help you find it. Check them out with the links above and below. Good luck, my friends.